Hey fam, what's up, baby? It's your boy Kev and
Tanya.
yeah, man, we back with another episode of Couples Connect, man. Today we get into some finances. Hey, man, we all struggle a little bit with finances. We all go through it, man. Some of us may not talk about it, but we all go through it at some point. And we got an amazing couple here today, man, that's going to talk to us about their struggle from the beginning. So how they build it up, right? So started from the bottom, now we here, baby, type situation. So
Humble beginnings.
humble beginnings, no doubt, man. Please give it up, man, for my man Josh and Thandi Montgomery. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank you for having us
Yeah,
here.
man. So how y'all feeling, fam? Y'all good?
I feel great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feel great.
Yes.
Yeah.
You look good.
Thank you. You too.
You all look great. You look amazing, as always. Yeah, coordinate. You got to coordinate.
Hey, man, well, look, I know it's been a long time coming. With many couples, it's always like we're trying to get with y'all schedule. Everybody's busy.
Yeah.
Got a lot of stuff going on, man, and we're just blessed to finally get you guys on the couch, man, to talk to you guys. Because we know it's going to be amazing. Y'all got some amazing stuff to share with people. We just can't wait to all unfold right here on Couples Connect. So, Josh, what's up with you, man? Everything good? Everything
I'm good.
all right,
I'm
my
good.
friend?
Yeah. Also, I want to start by saying thank you all for having us here. The platform you all have created to have these real conversations is amazing. We need more of this,
Thank
and
you.
especially in the community, especially within the culture. So I just want to just thank you all for sacrificing, bringing us on, and bringing on many other amazing individuals. So thank you all for that.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for saying yes. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
That part, right? Because I think that we put a few invites out, and some has responded, but not everybody. That some people don't want to, not ready to tell their story
Yeah.
yet. So and that's totally understandable.
Timing's important. Yeah.
It's all in timing, God's timing.
Amen.
So, but let's talk about this money stuff, man.
Let's go.
How can I make some money, man? But so I know you guys gonna get into the story a little bit, but just a little bit of what that I've learned a little bit in terms of the finance piece. I know Josh and we talked a little bit. And we kind of got into a space where you mentioned that, hey, you were doing some trading and doing some stuff to where you was really kind of help the family out, right? A whole
Absolutely.
lot and
Yeah.
make some great moves in that space. And then we talked about, you was going to assist me and the fam. We were going to do
Yep.
some things. So you pretty much really tapped into a space, man, that really allowed you guys to come up, if
Yeah.
you will, right? And
By the
to
grace of
help
God.
along with the other things that you guys got going on. But we know that it didn't start that way.
Sure.
Right. So let's talk about money. Let's see if we can help somebody from that financial perspective. Let's talk about. I want to talk first about what the finance situation look like right now, to kind of
Okay.
give people credit, to say to give them affirmation, say like, wow, they doing it. Then we're gonna go back to but how it all begun. Right.
Okay.
I love it.
Y'all don't have to
Yeah.
tell us, you're billionaires.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we ain't got to break it down. Dollar amounts.
Yeah.
You gotta break out, bank statements, but
Right.
but let's just give the people.
We can talk about it in general for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to start it off?
you guys doing right now. I mean,
Yeah.
successful Black couple. Y'all look good. Y'all
Thank you.
smell good. And it seems like you guys are doing well.
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah.
case? Because not everybody who look good, smell good.
Amen.
It's
Yeah.
not always the case.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, it's a lot of fakers out there. Oh yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah. So
But we know we got some real ones on the couch today, man.
Thank you, thank you.
Good, man. How's life for you guys
Yeah.
right now in
so
that space?
I'll kick it off, and then my wife is gonna add and make it better. So I'll kick it off, and then she'll put the seasoning on the end. So I would say right now where we are is we're in a place where, interesting enough, before we even got married, and then especially early in our marriage, we talked about this place that we're in, and that is a place of saying, it's nothing wrong with saying you're in a place of abundance, and God has blessed you where you can have, you're not worried about paying the bills, and you're not worried about hey, how do we just make it, where we can start having conversations about generational wealth, and so I would say where we are now is, and we'll get into the story because that's important, right? Because that sets the context. But where we are now is, I would say, God's blessed us that we have, our needs. We were able to enjoy some of the wants, and then even then, able to give and bless other things that we find are important in the community. So charitable contributions and donating, things of that thing. We can start talking about philanthropy, things of that nature. So what would you add to that?
Yeah, I would say kind of to piggyback on what he said, when we first met, we wanted to live a life of freedom and flexibility.
Yes.
That's what we wanted. And so that looks different for other couples. For us, it's just, as he mentioned, how do we be able to just live life and not have to worry about finances? And I'm just grateful to God. It really is a blessing. It took a lot of discipline. I will tell you that. It is not easy, and it's still not easy, but it took a lot of us like delayed gratification for us to get to where we are right now. And so I'm just grateful, like as he mentioned, to be able to donate to organizations, to be able to give to other people, to be able to go on vacations and take the whole family. And so I'm just really grateful for that opportunity.
You know, man, my wife, and I know she feels the same. You know, we just respect you guys, man. And you're just very, we hold you guys in high regards, man. Very,
Same here.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
It's mutual. It's mutual.
Yeah, man. And a brother of integrity. I just love it. You know what I'm saying? Who I respect, who's doing some amazing things in terms of how you man your family and everything else that you're doing.
Hey.
I just love it, man.
Thank you, man.
So let's talk about it, man. So you guys are in a place of abundance, which is amazing. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's tell people how did it start though?
Amen.
You know, it had to be maybe some struggle before that abundance.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What did that struggle look like for you guys in the beginning?
So we got married in 2007.
Yep.
And so when we got married, we had one car and we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Atlanta, Georgia. We had one job. I'm saying we because I wasn't working at the time. I had just finished transitioning from Texas to Atlanta. He came from Florida to Atlanta. So we call it like the triple ones: one job, one car, and 1-bedroom apartment. And so it was very interesting because, again, I had always had a job, but of course, relocating was very difficult. And so we had to have a budget. I mean, down to the penny. We had to have a budget, and you better not go over that budget.
You only made so much.
Yeah, we only made so little. We only made so little. And so even down to the point where I would have to take him to work and then drop him off, come back home. I'm looking for jobs. I would have to go and pick him up from work because we only had one car. We were literally sharing one car. And but we had a vision, you know, so I want to add one more one to that. So we had the one car, you know, 1 bedroom, we had one job, but we had one vision to not stay there. We had a vision to be able to say, okay, we know we're here right now. This is our reality, but what is it that we really want? And so we prayed for a strategy. We started doing research. Josh has really great mentors that he learned from his first job. And so we were like, okay, we're here right now. This is where we are, but how do we get to this next place? Because we all came from humble beginnings, from our parents and from, you know, how we were raised. Money looked different then, right? And so it's like, how do we, you know, take what we've learned from our childhood and build upon that?
That's right.
So it's not for naught, you know, but how do we build upon that so that we can create our own legacy of wealth for our kids and our grandkids and our great-great-grandchildren?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you guys do that? Like, did you have people? I know I heard you say he had mentors, but I don't remember us coming into our marriage like that, talking about having a vision and a strategy and that kind of stuff. We didn't do that. You know, we didn't talk about those things. But again, we didn't have role models. We didn't know anybody who was doing that. We didn't have anybody to go to, even talk to about stuff like that. So how? And you guys were young.
24.
Young.
Just turned 20.
Got married. But yeah, how did you do that? Who taught you guys that?
Well, we knew what we didn't want. We'll start there. So we knew the life that we did not want. Because again, growing up, we saw some things. It was like, you know what, we don't want that. And so that was kind of our baseline. Sometimes you don't know what you want, but you know what you don't want. And so you build on that. And so if you want to kind of start on in terms of how your mentors.
So I think it's important, again, to say mindset. I think even before, you know, my mentors that she speaks of, I met them in the first job, first job out of school, when we moved to Atlanta. But before that, I would say, even as we were dating, we had a mindset of, look, we know the lifestyle we want to live. We also know what it's like to not be in that place. And so we just dared to dream big and say, what would it be like if we didn't have to live check to check? What would it be like if you your money made money for you, right? So we already had a predisposition of like what we wanted. But that being said, a lot of people have dreams. And I think to answer your real question is like, how do you tactically walk out, or how do you get to the place? I think it starts with, setting a plan, having that vision, what you want, but then practically, she mentioned the budget. And the budget is a dirty word to some people because, if you're not a planner, you get intimidated. So I get that. So I would say take the word budget out and call it a plan. And, to her point, it was real simple. It was, here's how much money we make a month on my one paycheck. Wasn't a big paycheck either. And here's how much money we spend. If you can get those two numbers right, how much you're making, how much you're spending, and then the most important part is how much you're left over at the end.
That's a nugget right there.
That's it. Catch that one there.
Catch that.
That leftover amount is everything starts from that. I think people miss that. If I ask everybody, I was talking to people, it's 3 numbers that I would say wealthy and millionaires know. And the first number, everybody knows, which is how much you make. By show of hands, everyone's going to raise their hand. They know how much they make. The second number, some people know, not everybody knows. And that's how much are you spending each month? Now the hands go down. And then the third number, most important number is how much of that are you profiting each month? That leftover between those two. Every millionaire, every wealthy person knows that last number.
Say that last one again, how much you profit?
How much you profit. And so you notice that the terminology, we would say as a family, we would say, we profited $400 this month.
Yeah.
So if all things being equal, we, continue to keep this job, if we continue to spend, this much on groceries and rent and everything, every month we should expect, this amount left over.
Yeah.
And everything begins on that amount, because that's when you start saving off that and then eventually start investing off that.
That was good.
But that takes delayed gratification.
Yes.
So I would say, even going back to when we first got married, we went out to eat, and that was probably once a week, probably. We would only drink water. We didn't buy alcohol. We were not buying the most expensive steak or whatever it may be. We had a lot of delayed gratification. We sacrificed a lot. I wasn't getting the nicest handbags. It wasn't like that, And so it's like, what can we delay right now so that later on we can have that? And I even wanted my own car. I'm like, I'm 24 years old. I should be able to have my own car. And he said, well, if you get your own car, this is the budget. Let's look at the budget. This is how much we'll have left. And it was probably almost zero.
Let me unpack that one. So it wasn't, she's skipping to the end of the story. But to get to that point, it was, I want my own car. Okay, fair. And I'm like, I don't think we can afford it. And like, well, I know, but And so what I did, my mentor told me, he said, Josh, don't combat it with just a simple no or what you think. Bring the facts. So he said, go and find out the car she wants, call the dealership up and find out how much financing is, do all the numbers and say, okay, here's how much it's going to cost per month, this car note that you want. This exact same, is this right? Yep, the exact same car. Is this is your car? This is the one you want, the same color. Now, if we get this car, this is how much we bring in each month. Here's our profit each month. Now, if you throw the car note on there, it's how much our profit is. We're going to profit $12 a month. Something like that. And then I said, so what do you want to do? Do you want to pull the trigger and we're going to do the car or we got? And I just stepped back. And the decision was pretty obvious. And she didn't like the answer,
Right.
but the facts were there. And I think that's the sober reality. Also, sometimes we don't count the cost before we make these investments. And a lot of times that gets us in trouble financially.
Mm-hmm.
Because had we done that, we probably wouldn't be in the position we were, right? How many years it takes to pay off a car note? But that's 4 years that you've lost potentially of saving and investing.
Compound interest. Yeah.
And then the last part I would say is, the plan was never to just live frugal the whole time. It was just a delay the gratification for these few years. Let's get a nest egg. Let's start accumulating. Let's let it pile up on each other. Let's let the money stack up. Then we can start to set back a little bit and take our foot off the gas. And then start to go eat out more lavishly, do bigger trips, buy the car you want. And then we were able to buy the car she wanted, full cash paid off when we were able to do that a few years off. Yeah. So those are the type of things that, like, if you can get it now, but you can struggle. You can wait a little bit and do it guilt-free.
Tell me something, man. That's awesome, by the way. And I can only imagine the discipline, right? A sacrificial discipline that came into play to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned your mentor. How important or influential was your mentor in the mindset of coming to those realization for you guys to start to implement that way? Or did you already have some of that stuff already, before the mentor?
Yeah. So I would say I definitely had some of that stuff.
Yeah.
What the mentors brought to me was an actual living, breathing example of the life that we wanted to get to financially. So we didn't come to them, sure, they gave us advice on marriage here and there, but it was from a financial standpoint. I was able to see them and touch them and talk to them. And so that's what they brought us. So to unpack it a bit, when I got my first job, I was a junior analyst working at this big corporation. And in the office with me were vice presidents all around the office. But I would go around as a young, fresh out of college guy, and I'm like, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna soak up whatever you all have.
Absolutely.
And I walked around every office, and I poked my head in there, and some people were like, gave me a little bit of nuggets or something, but you can tell those who weren't really interested. But these two individuals, I went in their office, and they entertained me, and then they came back for more, and I kept coming back for more, so I knew they were interested. And then to sum it all up, what I realized is I looked at their lifestyle, and I remember coming home and telling her this. So 3 things I noticed, and they were all millionaires, by the way, right? Because I knew how much they made. I knew all those things. And so here's what I learned. In the parking lot, all these VPs, all of them, were Camrys, older model. If it's luxury cars, older model luxury cars, or just normal cars. So not the myth of Lamborghinis and Bentleys, and none of that. Another thing I noticed, when we had free lunch in the office, they would run you over. I said they would run me over to the free lunch. These wealthy people, it blew my mind. And so I said, how is it that they have a mindset there's a different mindset. And so I learned a little bit about delayed gratification and how they just enjoy value, and they don't put value in their cars because it's a depreciating asset. Those are the things I picked up from like just being in their presence.
So what I'm hearing too is that it sounds like you guys are very particular about your people, your tribe.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you can only learn from someone who's smarter than you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like you guys put yourself in that position to do that. Now, that's not to say that you're not friends with people who are equal or
of course.
whatever.
Yeah.
But you can't learn the stuff that you've learned or learning, just from the everyday people.
That's right.
So is that your strategy too? Part of your strategy or your plan to be around people?
I'll let her speak on that.
I would say it's a little bit of both, right? Because you can be around all the great people that you want, but if you don't have that mindset, that growth mindset, and also if you don't have a will to win, it's like we could have been around them all the time, but in our minds, we knew we didn't want to stay where we were, right? And so between talking to the mentors, between doing our own research,
Yes.
I think that's important as well. Just making sure you understand the financial acumen, you understand the language, you understand how do you move money from here to here. So we had to do a level of sacrifice when it came to turning off the TV. When we first got married, we didn't watch a lot of TV throughout the week. We were either trying to build a business, we were trying to do research. So a lot of things we had to say no to so that we can say yes to this life, years later, right? And so it was very important for us to say, okay, yes, we have these mentors, but we have to be able to move the needle forward as well, whether they're here or not. So I think it's both having the mentor, but also having that mindset and that discipline to understand and to learn on your own.
Yep. Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah.
So I think that is a golden nugget there. And what I mean by that, so you asked a great question. Just because you have access, just because you are in proximity, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to glean everything that person has. One of the things I realized, and it used to frustrate me early on, and she'll remember when I would say, mentor so-and-so, he never calls me. I'm always calling him. And then as I aged and got older, I realized there's a maturity there in that I have more to get from that person than that person has to get from me. So I need to be in a position to be reaching out more than that person. Anytime I get from them, I should be grateful because I have more to get from this relationship than that person has to give me. You think about that. And so I had to humble myself, lower myself a bit, and to your point, go out and seek it. Go seek that knowledge. And then when they give it to you, don't just let it fall on deaf ears. One of them in particular, he told me 10 years after I've known him, he said, Josh, you're doing the things I told you when you were, he has funny nicknames for me. Wet behind the ears, running around this office, didn't know left from right. But now the things that I told you 10 years ago, you walk those out slowly and slowly. And now, you've done those things. So I did the homework. I did the research. I followed up. I asked the questions. I didn't just let it go and just fall on deaf ears, So I don't know if
that was good.
That's good, man. Man, you mentioned a lot of good stuff already, and I'm thinking about the whole delayed gratification piece, right? Because it's just so different from the world that we live in now, where people want to, they ain't got the money, but they want to show that they got this car or this house or this, right? And it's just a different mindset, from what we see, especially on social media.
Yes.
Those mentors, man, in any world of success, you hear, get you a mentor, right?
Yeah.
Tanya and I been talking about that for the last couple of years in terms of just having a mentor to kind of give you that knowledge, right? And you guys were blessed. That I think that was, even though you had the hunger and the desire to move forward and and start doing some of the research and the work on your own,
right?
But having those mentors, had to be like priceless.
Absolutely,
sure,
absolutely,
priceless,
absolutely.
And not everybody has access to mentors at the disposal where you could have just went to work.
Yeah,
and you had mentors there.
Yeah, it was truly God given. Absolutely,
it's kind of pour into you, right? How those mentors, how important is that, and how do you, if they are not within the reach for other people the way they were for you, how would you suggest people go about finding mentors to help them further along their life?
And I would say one of my favorite authors is Brene Brown.
Yes.
And she says everyone needs to have a board of directors. And so your board of directors, it doesn't have to be someone that I can just sit and talk to. Your board of directors can be an author of a book, right? And so instead of having to just reach out to someone tangible, there are several books on investments. There are several books about financial freedom, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So we did a lot of reading ourselves. And so maybe you haven't found that ideal mentor yet, but that shouldn't be the reason to stop, And so again, your board of directors can be authors of the books. And so I would say maybe start there and then begin to understand what industry it is that you want that mentor and begin to network and find people in that industry. But I would say in the meantime, until you're trying to find that person, go on the internet and educate yourself and read those books so that when you do have that mentor, you'll have something to bring to the table.
And also listen to that podcast.
Yes.
Because that can also be
absolutely
board of directors.
Absolutely.
Tanya, do you have mentors?
I do. I have one. And he's been really incredible. And I actually reached out to him at that time. He was the CEO of the company. And so, I'm from Texas, of go big or go home. And so, and I work for him as well. Yeah, I work for the company. Yeah. And I was like, I need a mentor, And so he agreed to do it. But it was humbling, as Josh mentioned earlier. You have to humble yourself because I had to be ready for a yes or a no. But I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I said, I need you to prepare me to be the next CEO. Yeah. And he took the time out of his schedule and he taught me about just so many tactics about finances and et cetera. And to this day, I'm forever grateful for him.
Yeah. You don't talk to him all the time. Yeah. I think it's important to understand too, like there's, this relationship, like these two gentlemen I'm talking about, for instance, I've talked to one, it's been 9 months and going. The last one I talked to just a couple months ago as part of, a reach out, just a basic reach out, but it wasn't a lengthy conversation. So, we're not talking all the time. I think the podcast and the books and all those things, I think that is the information that truly rounded out my understanding. You may get a few things here and there, but for the most part, your willingness to go out and kind of research it. It's been a different game, from when my parents grew up. If it wasn't on the encyclopedia, because there was no internet, and if encyclopedias get outdated over, there's no need for them now because information is going so fast. But in today's age, you can, again, go to YouTube and literally learn anything you want to learn, which is insane. It's a great opportunity. So I have a bunch of mentors I haven't met. He has Brene Brown, but I say Seth Godin and I got so many names, John Lee Dumas. These are people that I've podcasted, read their books, but I never talked to them, never met them. But I feel like they're mentors.
You have some that you listen to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Myron Golden and all that. But
oh, nice.
So the thirst for knowledge and just you guys just had that in y'all to where y'all was constantly seeking information and trying to learn to get the knowledge and everything that y'all needed to get to the next level. How was that? I want to talk about that sacrificial phase though.
Yeah.
Or was that dealing with, because I know there was times even with us, times when we, you know, we like, man, we sacrificing this, we sacrificing that, and sometimes it's hard to just continue to sacrifice, you know what I'm saying, deprive yourself from things that you want and desire, you know what I'm saying, for the greater good, for later.
Yeah.
How hard was that time for you guys, man? And especially, I'm gonna say more, because men usually can sacrifice.
I agree. I know where you're going. I know where you're going with
but
that.
that sacrificial part of it.
Yeah.
But the women, you know what I'm saying, have a little bit more needs and wants and desires. How hard was that sacrificial phase for you guys, especially you, Tanya?
Yeah, I would say for me, at first it was difficult, you know, because, you know, when I got married, I had a certain idea of what I wanted, right? And so me moving from Texas to Atlanta, and I've always had, you know, I've been working since I was 16 years old. So I never wanted for anything. And so I would say it was very difficult at first because it's like, oh man, I really want this. But again, being married to Josh is such a blessing. And I knew his vision before we got married. And so I knew that this was just temporary. And so we both talked about the growth mindset. We both talked about if we sacrifice this right now, this is how our life can be. So it was a constant stream of communication. And sometimes, but I just want this little, you know, he's like, but you can get it, but here's the budget. So the numbers, the one thing I loved about Josh is he let the numbers speak instead of him nagging and saying, no, we can't have that. He just, hey, black and white, here are the numbers. If you want this, this is what it's going to cost, and this is how it's going to impact the profit for that month. And so I believe that was a really good strategy for him instead of saying, no, no, no. Okay, let's let the numbers speak. Yeah. And I really respect that from him. And so as hard as it was, I respected him because I knew he had a vision. I knew we had a goal, and I knew we were going to get there. Yeah. And so I think that goes back to trusting the person you marry, whether it's your mate, whether it's your partner. You have to have some type of trust, knowing that you're going to get to where you want, but it's just going to take time. Yeah. Yeah.
Josh, where did that leadership come from? It had to come from early on, not just when you had mentors. Where did that leadership come from?
That's God-given. I can't explain that any other way. I would say I haven't had, you know, through sports, I play sports, but so I can draw back to some coaches that were very influential, maybe some teachers here and there, but overall, I think it was just and I think she hit on it earlier, which is I knew what I did not want. It's interesting to say, like, I didn't know a single person. As a matter of fact, the first millionaire I ever met, like, in actuality, was those individuals when I got that first job. Otherwise, they were a mythical creature to me as far as that's concerned, you know? And so we knew what we did not want. So we already knew, hey, don't play in certain areas, because if you follow that same pattern of the person or the lifestyle that you don't want, stay away from that. You know that much. It has to be something else out there. So I would say that's part of it. I would say it's just purely God-given. But then the other part is to add to what she said about the struggle. You know, the struggle was real, right? And it wasn't a situation where we just didn't have. I just want to be clear. We bought things. We said, hey, this month things happen, emergencies happen, life happens, right? But I think the bigger goal, even down to the penny, we didn't manage down to the penny. We just said, generally speaking, we expect to make, you know, 300, 400 this month. And then sometimes it's 350 and sometimes it's 450, right? I don't know. But the point is we had a goal. And I think having that goal, that concerted one single goal, was so key, because now we're fighting the same fight. And so now we can now say to each other, hey, if we stay on this path, this is what we get by X time. And that it's a rallying, you know, that goal, that singularity goal, is a rally cry to bring that in. And, you know, when two people get together and do it, it's amazing. You know what I mean?
And that was going to be my next question. How was that tough to be on the same page all the time? You know, or were there times where one person was like, "No, I want to go buy something. I want to go do this."
Well, she did want that car.
I know she wanted that car. And he put the numbers out on her.
But I equally have stories too, right? So she taught me off the ledge on a few things I wanted to buy. You know,
that's what I'm talking
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just give and take, right? It's just talking these things out. It's not a vanilla, hey, we always agree. No such
No.
thing. We don't. No two people agree all the time. That means that both of them, or one of them, being really fake.
Yeah.
Right? Two real people, you're gonna have bump ups. You're gonna have flare ups.
Yeah.
So you got to talk through those things.
And I would say one thing that was important for us at the very beginning was getting out of debt.
Yeah.
And so I had a few credit cards, from college, and he said, before we can start investing, we need to get out of debt first, especially with these credit cards. And so the profit that we were making, a lot of that was going towards the credit cards to pay it down. So I wasn't using the credit card anymore. We were just paying it down. And then we also had student loans. And so I would like to say we made debt real. And we said, well, how do we pay these off? And then from there, then we can kind of start investing as well. So we kind of had a plan for the investments, for the debt as well.
Yeah.
So do you guys put all your stuff in one pot? Because, there are some marriages that say it's 50-50, this, that, and the other, or, they have their own, not like your own savings account, but they have their own separate accounts. So are you guys the couple that put everything in together? This is our money.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yeah, we do. But
We have different accounts, but we all have, it's the same, it's like joint accounts, but we have multiple accounts.
Mm-hmm.
But he has access. We all have access.
Yeah.
We can all see it. And so, yes, his money is my money is his
Yeah.
money.
there's no hidden
So
money.
it's not like,
Exactly.
well, you got paid today. No, we got paid today.
We say that. We say we.
Oh, we got paid
we
today.
say we got paid, and I catch myself like, no, we got
We
paid.
got
today.
paid today.
But I would say also, every family, every couple, every relationship is different.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
You got to remember, we started off nothing, both of us.
24 years old.
So you didn't have nothing to keep from me. I didn't have nothing to hide and keep from her. So you got to keep that in mind, right? Like, it's different, I think, when you have people who come into a relationship and they have their own things that they built up. That's a different scenario. And so you got to figure out what works for that situation. Either way, though, I still think a common goal is important.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how long was that struggle journey? How long was that whole journey of like, penny pinching to,
Right.
okay, we could breathe a little bit?
Oof.
How long was that time frame, roughly?
Yeah, the first definitely
I
year,
know you guys
first couple
working
of
on the
years.
debt first.
Yeah, first 2 to 3 years, we were just trying to scratch out eke out a living, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think I would say progressively every single year it got a little bit easier. It got a little bit more cushion, a little bit more wiggle room every year progressively.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we increased our income, but then we didn't increase our.
Yes, I think
That's
that's
huge.
good. So I would say maybe 3 months after we got married, then I found my job. And so every time either we got a promotion or something, we did not increase our spending. So the money that the promotion, or if there's a bonus, let's just say, just throw out $10,000. If we got that $10,000 bonus, instead of going out and saying, oh, let's go and buy this bag, or let's go buy these shoes. There's nothing wrong with that. But, or let's go on this lavish vacation. We say, you know what? No, let's live like we didn't get that $10,000, and let's put that $10,000 into an investment, whether it's a stock market or whatever it may be. And so that really helped us to level. That was really key in our marriage.
yeah.
So when he was getting promotions, I was getting promotions. It's like, okay, let's keep that money and invest it instead of spending it, because we didn't know we were going to get it anyway. And so it was literally a bonus. And so let's figure out, how do we creatively and tactically put this money somewhere where we know when we're sleeping, the money can grow for us.
Right.
And you get into that compound interest. And so when it was time for him to open up our first brokerage account, I was so nervous. I'm like,
I was too. I was too.
so again, we're like, okay, but this money, it was a bonus. So if it tanks, it's not coming from our bottom line. And so I was just like, oh, all right.
That was tough.
But he said, babe, I'm going to do this. And I said, okay, you know what? Let's pray about it. Let's pray over this money. And and ask God for a strategy. And it took us years to get to that point, but we made that investment. It's like, oh my goodness, it's growing in our sleep.
Yeah.
And that was something we always talked about, just having various streams of revenue, so that we can have multiple, and then of course have money as we're sleeping, with the stock market is growing.
So let me, I'm gonna just kind of add a little bit to what you said here. The biggest mistake I've seen financially for any families, whatever, is as their income increases, their spending increases at the same rate.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, we're definitely not living at the same rate that we did when we first started, obviously, right? We got bigger things, we got more things, but it didn't keep pace with the amount of money we made. And that's the key. So making this up, but fake numbers, go with me here. If we both got bonuses and we both got salary increases, and now from year one, we're making $3,000 more each month from the first year we have. So now we're in year 3, I'm making this up. But now we have $3,000 more to spend. The biggest mistake is that now you increase your house budget by $3,000 a month. You made $0 extra. See that? You really didn't make any money. Your spending went up at the same rate as your income. No, instead, our income and our spending went up just by, say, $1,000. So now we netted $2,000 extra. And so that $2,000 extra, now you're closer to the goal. And for us, it was breaking free out of corporate America and having multiple streams of income. And so now we're living those days. But I just want to say that's a key difference there.
So did y'all catch that nugget? Because Thandi, you said too, Josh, that when your money increased, you didn't go out and buy a purse or a bag.
Right.
Again, nothing
We celebrated. We went out to dinner. We did, we got things, but again, we didn't keep pace with it.
Wow.
And that's not something we grew up with. That wasn't the household we grew up in. And so again, we just had to have that vision, and we talked about it when we were on the campus of Florida A&M. We kind of really defined our life, and designed our life. And so that's something else. You can design your life. It doesn't matter if you are, in 5 years of marriage, 10 years of marriage, 15 years of marriage. You can sit down with your spouse and say, you know what, this is where we are right now, but where do we want to be? And you don't have to put any limitations on there. Where do you want to be financially? Where do you want to be from your health perspective? Where do you want to be? So just look at all those different aspects, those different categories, and say, if we had a magic wand, no boundaries, no limits, money wasn't an option, how would our life look? And so you design it, and then you say, okay, well, we've designed this beautiful master plan. How do we start chipping away at it? And that is key. How do you design your life?
Y'all did just that, though. Y'all design your life, literally. And I think again, it goes back to, the discipline to do it, right? Because if anyone's in any space of success, if you're looking for success principles, if you're reading books, they're all going to talk about
discipline.
Exactly what you guys just laid out before, right? Don't overspend, right? What you make. Right. All those little principles, success principles, to help you to become wealthy. Right. And you guys just really y'all ran the play to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? So
by the grace of God.
Yeah, thank God.
By the grace of God. And we hope that our story, the thing is, we hope our story is hopeful for others. Meaning we didn't come from, no one gave us $1 million loan. We started with nothing. We started with, I think, a lot of people start, especially in our community. And if we can do it, anybody can do it. And nothing magical about what we have. If anything, it's probably not say easier, but there's more information out there today than when we started this game. And so it's possible. And to Tani's point, today is a new day. Tomorrow's a new day. Start then. If you can, as a family, we talking finances, but if you can save an extra $10 a month, maybe that's goal one. Right. And after 3 months, you should have $30 in that account. Celebrate that. Because that means you've done something that you weren't able to do the day before or the time in the past. So there's always hope out there, I think. And I just hope that our story can just inspire others to say, look, you can start today and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed.
And one thing that we did was we brought our kids along with the journey. And so they understand the value of $1. They understand the 4 ways you can spend money. They understand the terminology. And so in our household, we brought them along with us. And so as we learn, they're learning as well. And so it's just really important too, as the parents, we again bring the kids along with you and have those conversations, and so that they can hear at a very young age, or whether they're teenagers, what does the value of money mean to you, and how, so they can understand. So.
You said the 4 ways to spend.
Yes.
Break that down a little bit.
You want to talk about it?
No, you actually. So I'm gonna give her credit because this is all her.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we taught the kids that if you have $1, you can either spend it, you can donate it, you can save it, or you can, what was the last one? Invest. So those are the 4 ways you can spend the money. And so even now, my 8-year-old can tell you that better than I can. My 12-year-old can tell you that better than I can. And so we, again, normalize it in our household. We're talking about a brokerage account, or we're talking about the stock market, we allow them to pick their own investments. And so in 2020, Josh sat down with them and said, okay, well, what do you want to invest in? And my daughter was like, Walmart. And then my son was like, Roblox or Nike. And so again, they're able to talk about it, even in our goals, our yearly goals. We talk about finances, and so they have their yearly goals as well. And so it's really important that we bring them along with us so that they can understand what it means.
Yep.
So I think that this is so good because you may have a family right now who are going to listen to this, and they have something that they're planning on doing really big. And then they, hear this conversation. It's like, you know what? Well, this money that we're about to get, instead of us doing this, let's sit down and talk about something else we can do to where maybe in 2 to 3 years we can grow this money.
There you go. Yeah.
So that's the hope for this conversation. Between the two of you, I think I know, but I'm going to ask, who's stronger when it comes to the finances? Like, who is?
I would say it's equal.
I would say it's
equal.
Don't get it twisted.
I would say it's equal.
Don't get it twisted. She is.
Okay.
Don't get it twisted.
I know where the money is.
Yeah.
Okay. I know where the money is. And so I would say it's equal. I'm grateful that he is, he's focused on, I focus on the charitable contributions. And so every month, that's my goal, and then he has created a system where a lot of the bills are automated. And so we've created these systems in the house, and we kind of know who's taking care of what. But yeah, every month I'm focusing on, okay, here are the charitable contributions. We're going to donate to these people. And so that's kind of how I handle it. But I know where every penny is.
Do you guys sit down? I'm sorry. Do you guys sit down once a week to talk about,
not once a week.
Not even, I would say not even every month. I mean, but it's also normal to talk about it. So it's not even a set time. Now we have set times around the year end, and probably year end is the only set time. But other than that, it's a normal conversation.
Because everything is just on automate. Like you guys have really put this stuff into practice, and it's like on autopilot.
Yeah.
Well,
like the bills, we don't even, I mean, it's just been paid. It's just coming out of
the
like, you don't even know. Yeah. I mean, when's the last time we talked about like the bills? I can't imagine the last time we talked about bill came out, this, like that. But I think when it comes to big events in the market, we talk about that. Like, hey, the market was up big today. Have you checked the account? And I'm gonna tell you what happened. Those type of things. But one thing I remember a nugget that we didn't share yet, and that is, money needs to have an assignment.
Yeah.
If you don't give money an assignment, it goes away. It literally disappears. And so the term money, another word for it is called currency. And when you think about currency, that was created based on water and a current. And so water is always moving, right? And so the folks back in the day said, when you look at this money thing, it moves so much. We got to give it a name. It moves like water. Currency. So currency was created by the term of the current. Where am I going with this? Well, if you don't give money an assignment, which means you don't have a goal for it. You ever heard someone say, man, and the money's in my pocket? I think old folks would say, like, it's burning up my pocket.
Burning a hole in my
Burning
pocket.
a hole in my pocket. What are they speaking to? They're speaking to the fact that when it's there and there's no purpose for it, what happens? It's going to get spent somewhere. And so it's important to have an assignment for your money, which means you have a plan, you have a budget. You say this money is going to go towards an investment or to charitable contribution or to whatever. But just sitting there doing nothing, even if it's sitting in a savings account, it's doing something. It's making a small interest, but it's doing something.
Let's talk about that, man. So you mentioned money in the bank.
Yeah.
Right. Do you normally put your money in a regular bank, or what type of savings account do you guys actually house your money? Right. Because I know they're high yielding savings account what type of account you guys use to say, hey, this is where we're going to park our funds that continue to maybe, grow.
Yeah. So I'll talk. Oh, you go ahead.
So we have, let's say, several accounts. So we have a CD, of course. We have the retirement account. We have savings account, brokerage account. And so we kind of diversify, and then a checking account as well. So it's important that we learn how to diversify the money. And so to your point, a CD may have a higher yielding savings or percentage versus a savings account. And so we're constantly looking at what are the best ways to increase the money. And so trying to figure out, okay, the stock market has this percentage of growth. The CD has this percentage of growth. The savings have this percentage of growth. So how do we diversify it and constantly moving it around to make it make sense? And so to make it, when we get paid, we put it into our checking account. And then from there, we figure out, okay, what percentage is going towards tithe and offering, what percentage is going towards charitable contributions, what are we going to put into the stock market? And so we're constantly trying to figure out the best place to put it. But we have, different accounts.
And then,
Working money is a job.
It
I'm
is.
gonna say y'all structure it like a business.
It is. No, it is.
we treat it like I said, when I said profit, I meant what I said. Like, it's like, how much is your family profit?
Yeah.
How much are you profiting each month? You should know that as a family. And then that money is what you live to build wealth on. But money is important. We all know that, but you realize that it's what feeds you essentially. So it's that important. But to add to what you said, the money comes into a checking account. We leave a certain amount in there to make sure all the bills are paid. How do we know if it's enough? Well, remember, we got a plan. So we know how much every month, how much we spend a month on pretty much everything. Not down to the penny, but roughly speaking. And so we make sure that minimum amount is in a checking account, so all the auto debits come out. Then the excess of that is where we take that money immediately and we put that into, like you said, CDs, savings accounts, and then obviously like investments. But to start it off, let me back up though. Before we started investing, remember back in the day when we didn't have much, we found a high yield savings account. And at the time when interest rates were much lower, 1%, we were like, oh, 1%, that's amazing. So we moved our money into a 1% account and we saw it get interest on that. And then eventually, and this is where I would say, so now I'm gonna give some pragmatic advice. You should try, our mentor said, try to get 3 to 6 months of your living expenses saved in a savings account. A savings account doesn't ever lose value, meaning it can never go lower than what you put in it. So it's not at risk. In the investment world, we call that it's not at risk. At risk means it can go down before. So you put it in that amount, that way it's going to be whatever you put in there or more. Okay. Once you get to that 3 to 6 months, some people do 12 months, right? Then any excess above that, then you should probably invest with it because now your money's not making enough money for you sitting in that account. And investments typically, so now I'm going to switch over. Investments, you're going to end up making more money in the savings, but remember the risk now. It can go lower depending on the time, you put it in, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully that's pragmatic, but just trying to give a little bit of peeling back on our trajectory and how we got there. We didn't start off investing. We started off saving, got to a certain amount. We saved 6 to 12 months, I think. And then from 12 months, we started investing.
That's good. So you didn't,
Yeah, it didn't start off that way.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because guess what? Like jobs and stuff happens. COVID happens. Things happen. Yeah. You want to sleep at night knowing that, man, if God forbid we don't make any money right now for the next couple months, we can still keep everything going normal.
So turning this just a little bit, mentioning that, having that savings in the account, and you mentioned health earlier, or God forbid you lose a job or this, that, and the other. Just really quickly, because there are some people who are going through this right now, who may even go through this later on. But you guys dealt with a health issue, a very traumatic health issue. And because of your early on planning, and how the way you guys really attacked your future and your vision, maybe, and I'm just assuming here, but maybe you guys were able to come through that health issue without needing to do what they call a GoFundMe or, go to families or borrow money or something like that. Can you guys speak to that, please?
Absolutely. So in 2021, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And of course, breast cancer is not just a physical journey, it's mental and it's financial.
Yes.
It's very expensive. It is very expensive. It's spiritual. And so I was still working at the time. And so I was able to do a long-term disability. And thank God I was able to still get paid for a portion of that time while I was out. And so that was helpful as well to have those benefits during the last half, because it was a 12-month journey. So I was out. I wasn't working for 12 months, but I was able to get 50% of my income. And so knowing the benefits that's out there, I said was so important. But then in terms of one thing we forgot to mention is when we first got married, because we had one income, we learned how to live on one income. Ooh. Right. And so even now, our expenses are based on one income. And so when I had my diagnosis, we were still living off of one income. And so because when I had only the 50%, it didn't really affect us as much because our expenses are still within one income. So if I lost my job or if he lost his job, because of that experience when we first got married, we've always said, let's keep it under one income.
And we know that not everybody can, based on your living expenses, rents are going up, mortgages are going up, right? Not everyone can do that. We get it. But strive for it as much as you can. Strive to try to save, I would say, as much as you can, close to half of whatever you bring in, that you should be able to hopefully try to save is that. And if it's like, if you can only do 10% of what that's better than 0%, 50%, that's half your income. That's what she's talking about, but not everybody can do that. I get it, but you can do something. If you look in there and turn over, you can find areas where you can possibly say, I don't need to have Starbucks. Yeah, subscriptions. I don't need 12 subscriptions. I only watch TV. It's only, it's only so many hours in a day. I don't need Starbucks every day at $6 a day. Here's something like I always say that subscriptions, a little tactic is people look at it by the monthly bill and they keep it low on purpose. Oh, it's $10 a month. I don't look at it like that. It's $120 a year. And so I say, before I buy this, am I willing to spend $120 right now to watch a few episodes of whatever? 120, that doesn't even seem like it's worth it. So then don't make your decision. $30 a month, that's $360. Are you willing to spend $360 right now for the thing you want? If the answer is no, then don't get it. So annualize the monthly amount, and then that's how I look at everything as well.
If you guys aren't millionaires right now, or you sure
on your way,
if you're not right now.
So it is, man. What with the whole budgeting process? Did y'all use any tools to help budget? Right, because there's a bunch of tools out there to kind of help you with budgeting and stuff. Did you use anything, or would you old straight pen and paper?
Excel spreadsheet.
Excel spreadsheet.
Yes. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, we have that. Matter of fact, the one we created our first year, we still use
17 years ago.
We still have that.
we still
have
use
that. Yes.
Even with all these apps out here and the technology, we still use that same Excel spreadsheet.
But I hope that is like encouraging to people to say, look, you don't need anything fancy. You just need to go through the exercise of writing it down. Again, everybody knows how much they make. That number, people know that. But how much are you spending on electricity every month? Is it between $120 and $300? I don't know what that amount is, but whatever it is, write it down, and it's going to be an estimate because that stuff fluctuates. But generally speaking, how much you spend on groceries and things like that. And then see do the plus is how much I bring in, all the negatives are how much I spend, and then what do you leave at the bottom?
Mm-hmm. I love it. Tell me this, man. And what is the biggest part of your whole process of well, first let's back up a little bit. How did you learn about the investment? How to invest? How did you get into that space of investing? And a lot of people may be like, man, I want to get into it, but I don't really, I don't really know about it, right? So how did you learn about that to kind of maximize and take advantage of that?
Sure. And I'll let you weigh in too, because I know it's probably two different stories. But I would start by saying, remember, we started with we wanted to have our money make money for us. So like that's not much. I think you can poll America or the world, and 98% will say, yeah, I want my money to make money for me. Yeah, simple. So we didn't start with anything unique. Then from there, the curiosity struck in, and then I said, okay, what does that mean? What's out there? I did have those mentors, and I talked to them, and I asked them about investments, and they were very instrumental on, I invest in this. But I remember the story. I pulled one of them aside. I'll never forget this. I said, okay, man, I know you're wealthy. Tell me the secrets, please. After we got real good, after a few, I said, tell me the secrets. What are you investing in? What's the stuff that you guys have access to that we don't have access to? I said,
what's the play?
And he looked at me like I had 5 eyes. He said, what are you talking about, Josh? I was like, come on, man. Like, let me in on the inside. We boys. And he's like, Josh, I invest in mutual funds. I invest in stocks. I don't even do hedge funds. I said, you don't have, he said, hedge funds? No, absolutely not. So I said, you mean to tell me you're investing in the same stuff that I can get in today? He's like, yes. There's no secret to it, really. It's out there. And you just got to get curious enough to start to research what it works for your situation. Now, for us, to break it real practical, is we invested in index funds, which is an ETF. It's like a broad base, tracks up 500 or so stocks so that there's diversity built into it. But again, you can invest today with $1. When I first started, you had to have a minimum of 1,000, maybe sometimes 10,000. Now they got the floor down to $1 you can invest to get started. Wow. And you won't get a full share, but you can get a fractional share. So there's things that are just available today that weren't even available now.
So you guys started off like, young with this. There are people who are older and who have done, not so good with their money. Is it ever too late to start? You know what I mean? Like, or you can start at any time. Maybe you have to be a little bit more aggressive, but is it ever too late to start? And if it's not, give us, a few tools or steps. Maybe you said the ATF, that may be a good way to start investing or saving your money.
Yeah.
I would say it's never too late. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you are, been married 9 years or 99 years. It doesn't matter. I would say from my coaching techniques, we've learned, we said, clear out the clutter. So how do you clear out the clutter when it comes to your finances? And so basically looking at all of your expenses and sitting down collectively and saying, do we need this Netflix account? Do we need this, YouTube TV account? And so literally itemizing all of your expenses and figuring out how can you save a little bit here, a little bit there? If you go out to eat, do you have to go to the most expensive restaurant? Do you have to buy 5 drinks? So there are various things that you can do as you're looking through your expenses to figure out what type of clutter can you clear. And so I would say that's where you start because, again, Josh said, the number, you know what you make, but you don't know what you spend. And so that in order to take out the mystery, it's important that you begin to itemize it. So whether it's a spreadsheet, yeah, whether it was just sitting down with pen and paper, going old school and saying, okay, this is what I spend. This is what you spend. This is what we spend collectively, including the kids. What can we cut back on? Yeah. And that is so important. And that may take you several days. It may take you a week, but it will be worth the investment of your time to figure out, okay, we can cut this here, or we don't have to have this here. Go back to the basics, go back to the essentials.
Yeah. And let me, and to piggyback off what she said. So my philosophy is think of it like a pyramid, or think of it like a foundation. Foundation 1 is get savings. Save. Before you invest, if you have not a lot of money in savings or you have no money saved up, to me, the sirens are going off because you're one incident away, you're one extra bill that you weren't anticipating, right? Life is just going to come and wipe you out somewhere. It's not an if, it's just a when. And so first and foremost, get you pad your savings account up. Now, again, 3 months if you can, but start with 1 week start with 1 month and just start padding up your savings account. Why? Just so you can look at the money? Absolutely not. There's a psychological component to this that we're really like dancing around, but I'll just address it. And that is growing up the way I grew up and then growing the way she grew up, psychologically, it's very tough on you when you are, at any given moment, your lights can cut off, your car can be repossessed. And a lot of people are stressed out every day. They're like, man, I can't afford anything extra in my life happening. And so how do you get around that? Well, you have some control. And you might not can control how much money you make, all right? How much money? $1 million, everybody. Hey, I want to make $1 million a year. Okay, so we can't do that, right? Most of us can't do that. So what can you do? Okay, well, I'm making this amount. But what can you control? How much I spend. You got to pay your rent, you got to eat. But after that, there's a lot of discretionary there. Mm-hmm. So to Thandi's point, this is where you got to look at it in a sober way and say, look, if the goal is I want to be able to live free, I want to be free of worried about the next thing that's happening. I can't sleep at night because I'm afraid that whatever, right? You can control that. Take action. Cut out the waste, right? And it's not saying cut out Netflix forever. Mm-hmm. We're saying set a goal. I don't need Netflix for the next year. Right there, $12 a month, 12 times 12, You just saved $145. What else did I need? I don't need this. Before you know it, you just saved yourself $600-700. And what did you cut out? A few episodes of something that you can watch next year and catch up on, and you just a little out of the cycle, a little bit on the social media. You didn't get the latest news. That's what we're talking about. Versus your psychological and your peace of mind. And when you lay your head at night and you say, if something happens, I know that I got a little bit of money in the bank to cover that emergency. And I think that's what I'm tracking. I think that's what the narrative that we're trying to drive is get more freedom, get more control, get more autonomy. Don't be shackled. Sometimes we shackle ourselves and we don't even know it based on the decisions we've made because we're just not as intentional about the decisions we're making, you know? And it doesn't take a lot. I hope people understand. I don't want people to look at this and say, you need a PhD in finance. No, you just need to be a little bit more intentional and you got to be willing to make some cuts and some sacrifices. You know what I mean? And so everybody that we know that are wealthy, heck, I would say it on live on air, we are wealthy, you know?
Praise the Lord.
We all have a sense of delayed gratification. We all have a sense of, I don't need this right now. But then also, now that we've come on the other side of some things, we can say, you know what? We drink out. I drink out at every time I go to eat. I go to every restaurant. We can live and get our wants now in some cases. You know what I mean? And that's that. But I think that's the big thing is free yourself up, you know, take the courage, take the discipline and, you know.
And it doesn't happen overnight. You got to give yourself space and grace. I always tell people that because, again, you can't wave a magic wand. It's going to take some discipline. It's going to take just that intentionality. I'm saying, you know what, we're here, but this is where we want to be. And so it's going to have to be a gradual transition.
Yeah. She used to pick me up from work.
And if he wasn't downstairs by 5 o'clock, he was going to be a problem.
but like, think about that as a man. Think about that for a second. She used to pick me up from work. So you know I had other workers, right? You know I had other coworkers in there. They all had cars. What that look like? I got to be downstairs to get a ride from my wife. And I got to be down at a certain point.
Right?
Did
you have any shame or embarrassment around that?
At first I did, but then eventually I didn't. And yeah, people talked about me. Some people joked, it's like, oh man, Josh, you better get downstairs. Your wife's going to be waiting on you. You better wrap this conversation up, Josh. It's 5:09. You better get down there, right? So I dealt with that. But it was for a greater purpose. And so now I can drive a car that I like to drive. And we got separate cars, you know? But I had to go through a time where it was like, it made more sense for us not to get enough extra car note. And could we afford it? Sure. By the skin of our teeth, we could have, but yeah, we could have. But we were willing to make that sacrifice for a few years until we were able to do that. So I don't say any of these things, and we don't say any of these things lightly like we haven't gone through it. No, we've gone through it. But again, all the principles we told you earlier, set a vision, make some tough decisions, delay, gratify, and then work on it. And give yourself patience, give yourself time. It ain't gonna happen overnight. But you can get there.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is so
Man,
good.
let me tell y'all something.
Yes. This is
Y'all just bless my spirit.
mine too.
Because I'm, you know, not just, I'm talking about from the masses of the people who may see this and be inspired by your story.
And I hope so.
Right? I think for you to declare, and I know you, bro, this is not something this is not a bragging, this is not,
Nope.
but for you to declare that we're wealthy. A black man, black woman sitting right here declaring that, right? And in the story, in the path of how you actually did it. It's a beautiful thing, man.
And thank you.
Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah. Thank God.
Beautiful thing to where there must be dust up in here.
I'm telling you,
Dust up in here.
because this is starting.
I'm telling you, man, because it's for so many of us, African Americans, right? Black people who are striving to reach a level that you guys are now at. I just pray and hope that, man, that someone can watch this and truly be inspired and change the trajectory of their life based on your story and testimony, and who can get to that level as well, right? And it's the story of our ugliness, of our down, of our being broken, of our sacrifices, embarrassment.
Yeah.
That's the part of everyone's story that we want on Couples Connect, because that's the part that's going to touch people, heal, and inspire them to do amazing things. So, man, this was so good, and it inspired us for sure.
Yeah, it made me think about some things very deep.
Yes. You guys are a blessing, man. I just want
You guys are a blessing. Thank y'all for having us. Yeah, this is a great platform. Seriously.
Yeah.
And it also made me think about too, like, you know, going forward, like my circle, you know, the people that we come in contact with, reaching out maybe to a mentor, or, you know, reading more books and listen to more podcasts around this situation, because we all can use a boost when it comes to our finances. So thank you, because it has really touched me deeply. And my mind is like going, you know, because we was just sitting, we had a meeting the other day, and yesterday, day before yesterday, I think it was. And we came together to come up with how we want basically our life to look, especially when it comes to our finances. And,
Awesome.
you know, we talked about different investments and different, you know, stuff like that. So this was right on time. I'm actually going to go back and watch this video.
We're available too. Yeah, we're right down the street.
Right down the street.
Like seriously.
Yeah, you guys are our
Y'all mentors. You got to go and take this.
y'all mentors.
Anytime around the corner. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Anytime, seriously.
Wasn't it the Millionaire Next Door? And there's a book, something.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a good book.
Something like that. Anyway, but this was so good, man.
Thank you.
Tell me, is there anything that you guys would like to share? Last few final tips of that you would encourage someone to do, to maybe get on the path of that journey to, you know,
getting your finances,
wealth, and to get into a place where they can, you know, build wealth. Any last final tips, man, that you would love to?
What you got?
Because it's not if, like you said, Josh, it's when.
It's when.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say having that mindset. It starts here, because a lot of times, going back to the shame and going back to the poverty, in our DNA, there's something in our DNA that says that you cannot succeed. And there's so many voices that are going on in our minds to say, no, you cannot, no, you cannot. But you have to negate all of those thoughts and say, you know what? I can be wealthy. I can have this. I can have that. And it really starts with the mindset, and it goes from your mindset to your voice. Like, what are you saying every single day? Are you saying, oh, we're barely getting by, or, oh, we can't have this? What are you saying? What are you manifesting out into the atmosphere every single day? You know, and so from your thoughts to your mouth, and then from your mouth to your actions. You can't just say, we're going to have this, we're going to have that, and you don't have the discipline and the fortitude and the intentionality to execute. So it starts with the mind, then the mouth, then, of course, the execution.
Did you guys practice that?
I did not.
Words of affirmation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm big on affirmation. I am big on affirmation, and so
she has shared affirmations with me that I look at almost every day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. And so I will say in the mornings, I am attracting wealth today. I don't know how, but I am attracting wealth today. God, thank you for the manna. God, thank you for putting my name on the hearts of people with influence, so they can call me for paid opportunities. Those are my affirmations that I'm saying every single day. And so it really takes time, because again, those negative thoughts try to say, you know, stop, you can't have this. And then and some things we share things on this podcast that we haven't even shared with some of our family and friends. Yeah. And so this has been like the start of something, because we really don't talk about it. We really did not talk about it. It was just like, oh, even when he said we're wealthy, I was like,
I saw that.
I didn't say too much.
I know.
I didn't say it all. I said.
So this is the start of something. So again, thank you for the platform.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, going back to the practicality, what do you think? What are you saying? And how are you executing it? And being on the same page, because as you're cutting back the clutter, there's going to be some things that you want to do that she may not want to do. But again, you have to think about the long-term goal.
Yeah.
But can I share this with you?
Yeah.
We know you guys a little bit, and Thandi, thank you for being somebody that I can call and text and you know, whatever. I consider you a friend.
Absolutely.
But I can tell you guys are wealthy. You know why? Because you're not carrying yourself like you are. You're not wearing this, and you're not that, you know, you can tell people you just have that energy and that spirit about yourselves. You know what I mean? And I'm not even just talking about just wealthy in a money aspect, but wealthy in love and for each other and for your children, you know, love for God. You mentioned tithing. So you're wealthy in not just money. You're wealthy in so many ways. And I'm glad that we know you guys.
Glad to know you. Yes.
It rubs off.
That's so good, man. So good. How about you, Josh?
I won't add anything this time. I will say, no, she nailed it. What I will say is we will, so talking about intentionality, one of our goals is we're going to create a platform where we can start to discuss these things on a consistent basis as you know, her and I, and sharing these stories and unpacking these things, because our goal is, to your point, same goal as you all. We want to influence, we want to touch the lives of others and, you know, give back. And where there's a lot of people that we admire that we've never met. She's never met Brene Brown. I've never met the people that I follow daily. And maybe we've become that for other folks as well. But just sharing that knowledge, just as someone's giving it to us, we're willing to give it to anyone else, you know? My wife knows this about me. I don't care if I am in the busiest state of my life. If so the phone picks up and says, Josh, can you walk me through how to get and start an investment? We'll create a 25th hour to make that happen. I don't care.
Call him tomorrow, Kevin.
Hey, I've been trying to get in.
It was on you, man. You said, you said your kids got to buy a car. You said, wait, let that sizzle down and then I'll hit you back up.
Hey, Josh,
I remember.
I ain't got it on tape, but I can rewind, but I'll let that go.
I got receipts.
because at the same time, we talked about in reference of also getting our kids into the investment as well. Of course, along with us as well, but at the same time, our kids now, they're starting to have their own little jobs, and we've been talking to them about, you know, how to really kind of manage their money, and they're eager to learn, of course. So we definitely, I want to connect with you on some things and just kind of get some directions in that space. So we'll definitely be talking soon, sure about that. So, but man, thank you guys again so much, man.
Thank you.
One last thing, are you helping? I could have sworn that you were actually. Or have you opened up that space yet, Josh, to really help others in the investment thing to really?
That's what he just.
That's what we're talking about. Yes, that's what we're going.
So the whole okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna bring it together. Whereas, you know, my wife and I, we're going to come up with a framework. We've already got some of this stuff laid out, but a framework on how to make investing easy and tangible. One thing is we got to be responsible. So before I tell you to go and throw your money in the stock market, and I know you don't have any money saved up, I wouldn't do that. That's not good sound advice. I would say, you know, savings and then investing, right? So we'll have a whole framework to help others get going. And then for those who want it, it'll be available for them, but it'll be in a way, I think the other part is there's a lot of noise out there in social media. There's a lot of fakers, a lot of people. I can spot them a mile away because of stuff they're saying. I'm like, that's not going to work. And that's bad advice. But I only know that because I've been in the game for a while in the investment side. We're going to come in and help demystify some of those myths and make it real tangible for families to invest and get started.
And for kids too. We want to have, so whatever we put for
the
the
whole
adults,
family,
we'll have a framework to break it down so that 8-year-olds and 18-year-olds can be able to understand it, because again, it starts at that age. Yeah.
Man.
So be on the lookout for that. When that gets started, we'll come back and we'll talk about that when that gets launched. And it's launching soon for us.
We're going to have you guys back.
Yes.
Absolutely. Man, thank you guys so much again, man, for being
having us. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
This was amazing. So much good stuff. And I really think it's going to truly, truly bless somebody, man, when they listen to this. So, man, hey, Couples Connect. If you want to get your money right, hey, man, we got something coming soon, man, with Team Montgomery. They coming back, man. They're going to share some stuff with us. But today was amazing, amazing, amazing. If you just use some of the information that they gave today, just some of the nuggets they gave today, man, can really set you on the path to building wealth. So, man, we want to thank you guys, man, for tuning in. Thank our neighbors, Team Montgomery, for doing it big and sharing the information. And guys, stay tuned, man. Stay locked in. We're going to continue to bring you great information that hopefully bless you in a way that you never even expected. So thank you for tuning in. This is Couples Connect, and we out. Peace.